بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. السادة الحضور، أرحب بكم في ندوة جديدة من ندوات أكاديمية نسيج العلمية عبر الإنترنت. وندوة الليلة تتناول موضوع دور المكتبات في تطوير Makerspaces، أو ما يمكن تجاوزا أن نعربها إلى أنها مساحات الصناع أو مساحات المبدعين. لم يستقر بعد العاملين في المجال على مقابل عربي متفق عليه، ولكن تجاوزا يمكن أن نطمئن إلى مساحات الصناع كمقابل لها. فموضوع اليوم هو موضوع يحظى بالاهتمام من قبل العديد من المكتبات، وخاصة المكتبات العامة في الدول برمتها ودول العربية على وجه الخصوص، حيث يتجاوز الأمر ركن الألعاب الذي اعتدنا أن نراه في المكتبات العامة أو مساحة الترفيه التي تخصصها بعض المكتبات لروادها من الأطفال والناشئين. إننا نتحدث هنا عن مساحات الإبداع والابتكار لتنمية القدرات الذاتية لدى المستفيدين، ومن ثم فسيتم تناول الجوانب الآتية في موضوعنا الليلة. الجانب الأول التعريف ببدايات فكرة مساحات الصناع Makerspaces في المكتبات العامة، ثم التركيز على بنية وتأسيس واستثمار مساحات المكتبة لكي تخصص لهذه الأنشطة، وأيضا مزج هذا بالتقنيات الرقمية المستحدثة. سوف يعرج أيضا ضيفنا على كيفية توفير وتصميم مساحات الصناع وتيسير الإفادة منها وتقييمها. حول هذا الموضوع سوف يتحدث عنه السيد أيوب خان، خبير المكتبات وعضو مجلس حوكمة المكتبات الاتحاد العالمي للمكتبات والمعاهد الخاصة بها، وهو رئيس المكتبات والخدمات الثقافية في مجلس مقاطعة ووركشاير بالمملكة المتحدة، وقد تولى منصب رئيس مشاريع مكتبة برمنغهام، وهي أكبر مكتبة ومركز ثقافي في القارة الأوروبية. مستر أيوب شغل أيضا منصب رئيس المكتبات المتصلة، والتي عرفت سابقا باسم جمعية المكتبات الرئيسة، وهو الرئيس السابق للمعهد القانوني للمكتبات ومهنيي المعلومات. أيضا تقلد مستر أيوب مديرا لتصميم المكتبات، وهي أداة بالأساس لمستخدمة في التصميم المعماري والتوزيع الداخلي للمكتبات، وهو عضو كما أشرت في مجلس الاتحاد الدولي للجمعيات ومؤسسات المكتبات الإفلا، وعضو سابق بلجنة مباني المكتبات، إضافة إلى عضويته بلجنة حقوق الإعارة العام بالمكتبة البريطانية، وله العديد من الإسهامات في الأدلة الإرشادية حول مباني المكتبات، وله كتاب بعنوان الأفضل من حيث التصميم بيتر بار ديزاين. وقد حصل شرفيا مستر أيوب على وسام الاستحقاق MBE، والذي تقلده شخصيا ملكة بريطانيا السابقة، نظير خدماته في قطاع المكتبات عام 2013. سيد أيوب، قبل أن أعطيه الكلمة أؤكد على ما استناه من سنة حسنة من ترك المساحة لضيفنا حتى ينهي العرض التقديمي الخاص به، ثم نتلقى الاستفسارات من أسئلة واستفسارات في صندوق question and answer أو الأسئلة والإجابات، وفي النهاية سيكون لدينا تعقيب عام عنه. وأكد على أن هذه الندوة تتميز بأنها باللغة الإنجليزية بالأساس، وهذا لا يعني أننا لا نستطيع أن نكتب أسئلتنا باللغة العربية. يستطيع الحضور كتابة الأسئلة باللغة العربية، وسوف أتولى كمدير لهذه الندوة إلقائها على ضيفنا باللغة الإنجليزية. Now, Mr. Ayub, this is your time. I will leave the virtual stage for you after I give a brief about your topic and your very rich resume. So the stage is yours. Please start your presentation.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I'm delighted to be talking to you here from Birmingham, United Kingdom. Really happy to be here. I started my library career many years ago as a Saturday assistant. I now manage libraries and other front-facing universal services for Warwickshire County Council. In 2013, I was awarded an MBE by the Prince of Wales, now King Charles III, for my services to libraries. Earlier this year, I became the Director of Designing Libraries, a website all about designing new libraries and internal layouts. And I am currently the President of Libraries Connected in the UK, which supports all public libraries in England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and the Crown dependency. So that's very many libraries, and all the chief librarians from the UK vote for this position. So I am very happy and honoured to be representing libraries across the UK, and to be the first Muslim person to have this position. The county where I work is in the centre of England, in a region called the Midlands. It is widely known as Stratford's Shakespeare's county, because William Shakespeare was born in the Warwickshire town of Stratford upon Avon. The centuries-old timber building pictured in the town's public library next door to the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. So you can see our library in the picture there. It's one of the libraries that we have. We have 34 libraries across the county. Warwickshire has no big city, but several large towns and many smaller villages. It is a relatively green county. 64% of the land is classed as a rural, and the population of the county is around 571,000, approximately 70% urban and 30% rural. Broadly speaking, there is a north-south divide, with post-industrial communities in the north and the more affluent communities in the south. Recent decades have seen a shift in the county's economic profile. While some traditional industries have disappeared, like the motor industry, is still a major employer. Warwickshire today is playing a leading role in research and the development of future road transport, including zero carbon and automation. New technologies such as the cluster of gaming industries and businesses based in the town of Leamington Spa are driving forward digital innovation. Meanwhile, tourism is worth over 1.1 billion to the county's economic every year. The reason why I say all this about the area is when we talk about what we're doing in our makerspaces, we are responding to the population that we are serving. Warwickshire County Council has a network of 19 public libraries that we run ourselves, and we support another 12 community-run social enterprise libraries. We also have a very strong volunteer support base in our libraries, and we support the community-led libraries with recruitment and training. We also run a mobile library service, particularly for the rural part of the county, and several Warwickshire libraries share premises with other services, and we work with a wide range of internal and external sort of providers around the library offer. I talked a minute ago about designing Library's website, which was originally set up in 2004 as a database of recent public library building projects in the UK. It is now a vital international resource for those involved or interested in the design of new libraries or the remodeling of existing ones, whether public or academic, from whatever perspective: librarians, academics, architects, internal designers, students, suppliers, planners, constructions, the list goes on. As well as a valuable information resource, designing libraries is an international shop window for expertise and specialist services. The website is not only about the fabric of buildings, but all the relevance of their design and layout to the services and activities modern library services offer, and their flexibility to adapt to changing customer needs and expectations within the context of a rapidly advancing technologies. As director, I am leading a small project team with a remit to revamp, revitalise, relaunch the website, make sure it's both fit for purpose and sustainable. We will, for example, be focusing on challenges around making our libraries new and more greener in response to the climate change crisis and net zero emissions. So if you do get a chance, please do look on this website, and the link is here. Now, I mentioned to you about this organisation called Libraries Connected. Libraries Connected, the sector support organisation, formerly known as the Society of Chief Librarians, developed a set of universal offers in 2013, outlining services all libraries should be providing. The Libraries Connected represent all public libraries in England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and most library services have signed up for this universal offer, which basically means that all libraries will have an offer around culture and creativity, health and well-being, reading, information and digital, and we would support children and young people and visually print and impaired people. So that's a big sort of role for libraries sort of connected, and you will see that the Makerspaces fall within the information and digital offer. Next, I want to talk to you about Makerspaces. In Warwickshire, we call ours Let's Make Spaces. Digitally literacy is no longer an add-on or a basic skill that everyone, young and old, needs to function and flourish in a modern society, arguably as important as being able to read and write. For growing businesses, digital fluency and confidence is essential, from using computerized cash registers to promoting goods and services via social media. So what is a makerspace? The resources section of the Designing Libraries website offers a useful introduction. It provides a link to the relevant pages, so you can sort of later on click this and you'll find lots of information about Makerspace. For now, I'll explain the basics. Makerspaces, or Fab Labs as they are sometimes called, are a relatively new introduction to the UK, but have been operating in other countries for quite a while. They don't have to be located in libraries, and there are different models. They are generally based around digital technology, but not exclusively. So Makerspaces can and do incorporate more traditional arts and craft and equipment alongside techno gadgetry. Essentially, they are places that offer local communities access to technology and facilities for exploring ideas and making things in new ways. They allow people of all ages, backgrounds, and interests not only to have fun creating things, but also to socialize and have fun. So that's really the basics. Let's make spaces local and national priorities. Warwickshire's first library, Let's Make Spaces, opened in two of the county's less affluent towns, Nuneaton and Rugby, and they opened in 2018. This supported the council's priority towards narrowing the gaps and creating greater equality of opportunities for all Warwickshire citizens. It also supported national priorities around the UK government's STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths and skills agenda. At the time, national figures suggested more than a third of homes in the lowest socially economic groups had no digital technology. Combating digital inclusion is the latest challenge in Warwickshire as elsewhere. So what were our project aims? Essentially, the aim of the project was to promote the educational attainment, economic growth and well-being of disadvantaged communities in the northern half of Warwickshire. I've listed some of the key outcomes we wanted to achieve on this slide. The project builds on library's long tradition of supporting learning, more recently developments such as coding clubs, which teach programming skills to all ages. The Let's Make Spaces were designed to appeal to a wider audiences, children and families, local businesses, artists and designers, adult learners, the unemployed, and those young people not in education, employment or training. We knew that having enough well-informed and confident staff and volunteers would be crucial to the success of the Let's Make Spaces. We recruited a Let's Make coordinator to deliver sessions, network and build links, promote the project and generally take it forward. We also appointed an apprentice, Let's Make digital assistants, to help with some of the practicalities of the project and to help with coordination. We set up our first test lab in Leamington Spa, and you can see the picture of the library there in central Warwickshire. So Nuneaton and Rugby staff would try out digital skills before they had to work with some customers. And here you can see them with headsets on, practicing the virtual reality. Transforming library spaces. These before and after pictures show the original library spaces and the new Let's Make design layouts. Both makeovers were done during planned library refurbishments. Although different in size and Let's Make spaces have made equipment and facilities on offer. Nuneaton transformation is particularly shown just how much libraries are changing. 25 years ago, around 70% of the library space was traditionally occupied books and borrowing points, with only 30 for other activities. Now it's the other way around. Both Nuneaton and Rugby Let's Make Spaces were set up in 2018. The official launch events were not until May, so we had a few weeks to test, tweak the equipment that we had. A key element of the design brief was to make the Let's Make Spaces look different and exciting, but also part of the main library. We needed to have the right balance between distinct but not separate spaces. We created taster areas as traditional zones just outside the library space. This is where the STEM books were stored and shelved. The taster areas have a screen to help promote the space and a cabinet where items made during the 3D printing were on display. Glass doors were fitted so browsing customers can also see what's going on inside. So you can sort of see here our Let's Make sort of taster area. Activities. As you can see, the focus of the Let's Make Spaces is around coding, robotics, electronics. Here are the core activities both the Let's Make Spaces initially offered. Virtual reality, introducing users to the 3D world of VR through the use of specialist headsets. Robotics, creating and making simple robots from kits or from programming already made through our robots program and coding. Programming coding using the BBC's microbits, raspberries, Pis, and linking with existing library code clubs to create simple games, mazes, music and arts. Sewing and embroidering was another one, using design programs to create digital designs together with introducing to sewing and embroidery techniques. The 3D printing using 3D design software to create and print 3D objects, music creation and soundscapes using simple software to create musical content using a lot of sort of using 3D sort of technology and software, and also headphones for us to capture sound journeys. Animation and filmmaking using simple techniques to stop motion, puppet animation, 3D characters, and animation of creating simple short films. And finally, the sort of vinyl cutter, using it for designing software to create greeting cards, decorations, and invitations. So effectively, that's the activities that we do. People sign up and say, I want to do virtual reality, robotics, coding, sewing machine, and there's a short session around those sort of skills that they can learn, and they can use all the equipment. Evidence shows that makerspaces are good for libraries, local people, and the economy. They maintain their main benefits are listed on this slide. I'd like to mention that digital skill levels have implications for the wider economy too. We have a national skills shortage, which means that we have to support more sort of jobs in these areas. Libraries are well placed to help because of their wide reach and their ability to attract audiences who might not come to a library. So since the development, since the launch, this slide shows what we have been up to since the launch. The great thing about this project is that it will continuously develop as technology advances. In the digital age, nothing stands still, and nor will Warwickshire's Let's Make Spaces. They have been promoting creativity and entrepreneurship in the community. Is improving business, employability prospects, and overall life chances for years to come. And what would be really helpful now is basically to show you how all this sort of works together. This slide will be a video which looks at how the sort of technology is sort of used in real space. So if I stop sharing and we can ask Saeed to put the video on, and you can see how Let's Makes works in practice. Warwickshire County Council are developing 2 new makerspaces in our libraries. Essentially, makerspaces are places where you can go and access the latest digital technology, get hands-on experience of using things like 3D printers, laser cutters, virtual reality sets.
My favourite thing was the VR headset, because when you were with the sharks, felt like you were actually swimming with them, and it was like really realistic.
The equipment is available for anybody, any age, any sort of taste. However, our focus is going to be around families, getting particularly young people to engage in new technology and get them enthused.
The best thing for me was the 3D printer, because you can make some really intricate designs with it that looks really cool.
For adults, there is access to high-level creative software that might not otherwise be available to the general public. For example, there is an embroidery machine which you can use to embroider and make badges and things.
It's an exciting opportunity to actually learn about some of the new technology that even in my many years of ICT, I'm still coming across.
I think what this is going to do for local people and the local community, I think it's going to hopefully open up worlds, open up job opportunities, having access to this kind of technology that you wouldn't necessarily normally have access to.
So when I first heard about the project, it was extremely exciting. It's going to open up a ton of new possibilities for events that we can run in the library and new audiences that we can reach. Possibly there may be some reservations over how technical it might be and the level of skills that we were expecting of people, but I've been really impressed by how accessible we've been able to make it.
Judging from the response this morning, it's going to be a winner.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayub. Actually, it was interesting, and I just, what we call it, swimming with your ideas about this one. Actually, when you agreed to give this presentation or webinar about makerspaces, I was thinking that it will be some sort of fun or some sort of recreational approach, but actually from the videos you presented and also the way that you deliver the activity. It's something beyond just having fun. It's something about creative ideas, innovative actions. So thank you for this outstanding and interesting presentation, which I think gives a new angle to look at the library from. Also, it's really away from just this shush or keep silent in the library. It's something new for our mentality about that. It's library. It's not just a quiet area. It's a space that you can create something and also make innovation. Also for me, I found that the Makerspaces is not just for children or kids. You show me that this is something for elder or young adults. So something, thank you for it, just to pointing on it. Also, I think that our presentation made me recall the concept of turning the library from these breaks and floors to intellectual space that we can getting knowledge and creating knowledge at the same time. So thank you so much. And I would love to move quickly for the questions and give you the space to answer this one. And let's start with the essential one. And I invite for sure, as we use in Naseej Academy, to receive the question on the question and answer books, and we will moderate it. And feel free also to write it in Arabic, and I will translate to Mr. Ayub. Mr. Ayub, the essential question is how do you describe the Makerspaces? Is it a library service or just a kind of activity delivered or serving on the library?
We describe it as part of the core library service sort of now, because the concept of a library service has expanded. So, for example, maybe 10 years ago, we would come, 20 years ago, we would come to the library to use the fax machines, photocopiers, and now we come to the library to access 3D printing. So it's like having a shared resource for everybody to use. Not everybody has a 3D printer, for example, and it's like a photocopier or a printer people come into the library to use. So I would describe it as part of the new library offer.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move to the next questions, and it's something about the cost, and I think it's a very good one. This is what we call it the $1 million question. So how about the cost? Do you think that it's a very highly costed thing to deliver to through the libraries? There is a overhead cost. The library should think about it before going in this way.
Yeah, so a very, very good question about the sort of cost. In fact, when we started, the costs were quite high, but we were quite surprised how costs have gone down so much over the years. So you would have a cost of creating the area, the space where you want to make your makerspace. It doesn't have to be very big. You saw some photos of ours. They are not very large spaces. Maybe 14 people, 15 people at one time can use that space. 3D printers, laser cutters, all the prices are coming down. And we were surprised. There is so much free software available. So more and more of our software for the technology that we use is free, available on there. Things like stop animation. People come to our Makerspaces to learn how to maybe do a little video. Now, a lot of the programs are free to use. So in fact, prices have come down very, very much. And you don't need to have lots of equipment. Start with some equipment and then build it up. And use a lot of specialist software out there. For example, the sewing machine was probably the most expensive piece that we had, but you only need one, so people can sew badges and patterns by using computers, Apple computers, make the designs, and then the designs come out of the printer. So I would say to start a makerspace, maybe £30,000 UK would be to sort of get it going. But very important, if you are going to start developing it, you must have a small budget for renewables, for the filaments, for the 3D printers, for the software licenses. So you must make sure that you have a small budget that you can keep buying new things. Just like a library always has to have a budget for books, it must also have a small budget for some of the equipment. So don't just buy one. Make sure that your directors of the library are also willing to pay a little bit every year to keep up the consumables. But we use library staff, so there is no payment for additional staff. We trained all our staff, and that was the most expensive cost.
Yeah, very good. And from my readings and also checking on similar experience, they could be inviting some computer or IT companies to promote themselves within the library. So this is approach that very common now. So you can get the equipment, you can get some tools, and you can invite this instead of just giving sponsorship. So you can get this one in this area. What do you think about ideas like this?
Yes, definitely. And what we do is sometimes companies come to us and say to us, can we use your space to hire? And we say yes to the companies, yes, you can hire our space. But we then say, can you donate equipment, or can you donate staff specialist skills? And many are very happy to have their staff come and support us because they see libraries as a community good thing in the community, and they want to support that. So there's lots of ways you can do to get that support.
Perfect. So related to that, we have a question here from Mr. David Hirsch. He said, okay, so who is paying for the materials like the filament? Is there any charge the user, or is the library absorbing all costs? I think you're answering, but more elaboration would be fine, just to fulfill the needs.
Yeah. So what we do is we say to our, if it's a group session that we do, we would pay for the elements ourselves for like the 3D printing, if it's a group activity that we've organized as a session. However, if individuals want to use the spaces, it's free to use, so we don't charge anything to use the equipment. But if there is any cost associated with the laser cutters or the 3D printing, we charge a small price for the filament to be printed out. So we might say, in order to print that out, it would cost you £2, a small charge, like we would do, for example, if somebody came into our library and said, can I photocopy these pages? We would say, yes, there's a 10p charge to print the pages. So we keep the charges only for the consumables, if that makes sense. Was that understandable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, thank you about it. Let's move a little bit for another type of question that's talking about the technicality or the mapping of this one. What is the minimum space to create a makerspace and to be effective one?
We were very, very surprised that we didn't need a lot of space, but you did need some space. So, you know, it would be about sort of, I don't know, you would need a probably space of maybe like 3 small offices, maybe at least 5 meters by sort of 2 meters sort of space minimum, where we had a, and we made them into glass spaces so people could sort of look in. So we could maybe have at least maybe a minimum of 12 people that can do a group activity. But a lot of the Makerspace people come as individuals and they want to come and just use the equipment. We have lots of equipment such as Apple and 3D design technology software. So they come as individuals. So not necessarily a huge space, but maybe a minimum of having at least 12 people there to make it more of an identified space where small activities could come in. Things like code clubs can take place.
Very good. Okay. Again, another factor to make the makerspaces succeed in library about the librarian. What is the criteria or what is the qualification of the librarian who will take care of this service or activity, as you said?
Yeah. So we thought it's not more about the qualification, but more about the skills and interests of the librarians, the library staff. So if some library staff are really interested in this area, we develop them more and so we encourage them more to do that. So we're not looking at formal qualifications, we're just looking at a library staff that we already have who is interested in taking more of an active role, but we train all of them so they can all be involved in the activities. In our library service, we train one coordinator for all the libraries. So it was one full-time coordinator, and then they can train all the rest of the library staff. So we need somebody that will keep a coordinating role for everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, what exactly the role that he used to do? He's just monitoring, or he's just integrating? Because I think there is different type of activity.
Yeah. So what this person does is our coordinator for the Makerspaces role is to make sure that the spaces are well used, that they develop the programs, they help promote the programs, and they make sure that all the equipment is working, that they have enough filaments, enough consumables in there. And the big part of their role is to train the general frontline staff to use the equipment. So they might start the program coming up, but they would then also be involved in monitoring and evaluating the spaces. So they would be supporting that.
Perfect, because there is a close question talking about this should be the pure librarian or the IT guy, or this is a mixing of their efforts. So
it's really a mixing of the effort. Guys, librarians has to be very good at technology. So I think a librarian would be really good. And they're not full-time roles. So the way we make these places sustainable is not having full-time staff working in there. The staff are working in the library, then somebody can use the space and they can help them during certain sessions. So it's important that it's like a hybrid role and that it's just as part of the library service, so we don't have every library has specialist staff.
Yeah, sure. The next question is about how to integrate the makerspaces with the other traditional services. There is no traditional now, by the way, but the other services we used to know, like the circulation and reading and etc.
Yeah. So, for example, we try and combine the activities. So when we have an activity, it may be we have some activities where there's a reading group that will come into the library, and then we will say, okay, have you thought about let's go on these computers and let's integrate some of the activity. Let's go virtual reading group, or we might have a poetry group. Let's make some music for the poetry background, or there's a group that come in for business information. Let's now, how do you make a Twitter page for your business? So we combine lots of events. Today is Valentine's Day in the UK. So all the printing is printing love hearts in there with the 3D printing. And then they go with all the books that are all to do with sort of romance and friendship. So we combine our activities all as one.
Very, very wise and smart way just to link the makerspaces with the events or just specific day, like celebrating day like Valentine and Mother Day or whatever it is. It's very interesting also. Okay, here there is one of our audience, he's from Oman, and he said, we have similar and what we call it community managed libraries, and most are running similar activities and training program, 3D printing, robotics, etc. But users are mostly youngsters. How to attract youth and adults to join? Perfect question.
Yeah, so we work closely with schools, and we encourage them to send their children to learn coding clubs. We have volunteers to do coding clubs, and during the summer holidays we have lots of activities set up in our makerspaces to encourage people to do that. We're also very fortunate to have a robot, a nano robot, and the children love to sort of play with the robot, and the robot sings and dances, and that's a good way of getting them in. But also, part of the makerspaces, we have some equipment for under fives. They're like little robots. So when we're doing storytelling sessions with the children, we also get a little caterpillar, and if you press the caterpillar left and right and move there, then we try and encourage children. This is how coding happens. So we might take one of the equipment in the under five session and encourage that as part of the storytelling session. They're called robots or caterpillars. They just go left, right, but it sort of gets the concept of sort of moving there. And one of how we get older people is we have these things called knitting groups in libraries, and it's where older people come and they do knitting. It's to try and get more social activities, and there's a lot of older people are isolated here, and we encourage them to have like a group session in the makerspace with the sewing machine. So our technician will go there and show them how they do electronic sewing machines there. So we just try and get different users, but the main thing is through schools and making it fun.
Yeah, I think it depends about the creativity with the librarian or the one he's in charge of this one. The next question is about, do consider the culture and society in the library designs affect the makerspace? I think that the answer is yes, but more elaboration, please.
Yes, because makerspaces come in all different forms of.
Yes.
Some places it's more about other types of creativities. They use wood and other types of materials. Some are more electronic. So, you know, some are more art-based. So you have to try and cater for the community and the society that you work with. So very early on, when I showed you about Warwickshire and the types of population and the types of businesses, all that helps to try and develop your service for the community that's out there.
Yeah, okay. We have a flow of questions, so it's very good to have in a telegraphic way. Gaming area, spaces, maker spaces, and which is better to call? Is it more important for children's library? I think this question, need to rephrase it about the gaming area comparing with the maker space and also the children corner in the library. Can you make more differentiation?
Yeah, there isn't a right or wrong answer. It depends on your area, your community, your library, across that. So we try to put a lot of design effort into our maker spaces, so that they were seen not for children, not for adults, but they were part of the library, not too different from the rest of the library, but seen as this is like a cool place to be. If you go on the Designing Libraries website and you look at some examples, that will give you some ideas about where to put them. There isn't a wrong or right answer. What you might want to do is hopefully you'll get a copy of this presentation, and if you click the links to the Designing Libraries website, there's some case studies there that show how different places have them.
Yeah, excellent. This is give more ideas about it. We have just 2 more questions because we try to stick to the time we have. The first one is about the entrepreneurs and how to link it with the Makerspaces. And the second one, do you have a name for libraries in the Arab region already have this activity with this name?
Right. So the first sort of question in terms of entrepreneurs. So we do a lot about supporting business information. And this is where we link some of our business information, intellectual property and IP programs. So we basically, where our books around setting up businesses are, we point them to our Makerspaces. So for example, entrepreneurs will come to the library and they will say, I want to now, I had an idea about creating this particular product, and what we need is, but I need to have a prototype. So what they will do is come and use the digital printing, the 3D printing to create a prototype so that then they can then patent that and make it copyright. So the librarians will help them and say, right, you've got an idea, you've now got an example of how that idea is, and this is the specification. Now, how do you protect the copyright of this new invention that you've done? And having the books and information in the library will support entrepreneurs with new ideas and new design. And the idea that you have a few together, all together using the Makerspace, they'll have different ideas amongst themselves. So that was how we support it, through our business information and through our intellectual property sort of service and signposting for designs. And your final question was around, is there a word, a name in the Arab world that describes Makerspaces? Is that what it was?
Sure. Do you know that from your background and communication?
No, it'd be very interesting to see Space Maker, is it called IFLA, that new library in Saudi Arabia. I've seen pictures of it, it looks absolutely amazing. It's called a Space Maker. That's a good idea. But they're called all different things. We call ours Let's Make, some are called Makerspaces, some are called Fab Labs, some are called, you know, learning labs, digital spaces. There's lots of different names that you can have them.
I think, and also Mohammed bin Rashid Library has a big step on this part as well.
So what are they called in the Arab world? What's the main thing that you would describe?
Still, as I mentioned at the beginning, still not having this very crystal clear Arabic terms. Some of them just calling مساحات الصناع, مساحات المبدعين, which is creator or whatever, maker spaces. But the concept still need to be more clear, comparing with other activity, which is something just like up and down activity. But something you mentioned or talk about today, it's something very unique, very clear, stable, and happening in a regular time, frequently. This is, I think, need more elaboration from the libraries in this, especially, I think, as you said, it's need to dedicate some of the library budget to it. And that's moved me to a question from my side about what is the challenges, the big challenge that you think having obstacle for the library all over the world, not just in the Arab world, to proceed this Makerspaces.
I think the challenges are it's about trying to create the right space in the sort of library, not a room that's closed and sort of put as part of that's a different aspect. It's about integrating this to the library. The challenge is technology moves on very, very quickly, and you have to keep up with it and be able to, if you start something, continue with it. And also taking the library staff with you in the training and learning of librarians, because the challenge is many will see this as not part of their core role, but it's about saying, you know, as you develop, this is how the library of the future and things are. So that's basically a sort of challenge. But the key thing is really around how do you add new services to your library when actually resources are tight and you try and serve everyone. But the key thing I would say, it's about staff attitudes and ensuring that you keep up with the fast changing world. A lot of things are changing and you have to build in that things will change and move on.
Yes. Actually, we are so delighted and happy to have you, Mr. Ayub, and also the way that you present your topic is very easy and very vivid. So appreciate it. Thank you so much for this one. And I can see there is many questions coming down the road. So I apologize for all the attendees that send it in, but we are welcoming to send it over the email. So thank you again, and for sure we will have you again in another topic. And I leave the last word for you. And I think this is the most ideal presentation and webinar that we are close on time on this one. So thank you for sticking to the time. Thank you for presenting well. So the last word is you.
Okay. No, I want to really thank you. It's been absolutely fantastic to see there's 215 people on the sort of call from all over the Arab world. I'm very honored to be sharing the experience that we've got with others, because I learned about Makerspaces from libraries in different European, different sort of countries. So I'm very happy. And also, if you see anything in the presentation and look at the sort of videos, go and look at some examples of case studies in designing sort of libraries there. And basically, I'll put my Twitter handle in the comments. So if you want to find out more about things, just keep sort of following me, and I would love to continue this sort of conversation. And really sort of thank you for Naseej Academy for setting it up. I've been honored today to talk to you about projects that we've been doing. So I'm very happy to help and share my experience.
Thank you, Mr. Ayub, so much, and thank you for the attendees. نشكركم جميعا، وكما هي العادة نرحب بكم في حضور فعاليات أكاديمية نسيج، وجميع الحضور سوف تصلهم شهادة حضور، وسيتم رفع العرض التقديمي البرزنتيشن إن شاء الله على موقع نسيج. نترككم في رعاية الله وعلى لقاء، ودائما نحاول أن نجدد في الندوات العلمية التي نقدمها، بعضها يكون مصاحب له الترجمة، والبعض الآخر نتعمد ألا يكون بترجمة حتى نعطي فرصة إلى اكتساب مهارات لغوية ليس فقط جوانب علمية. شكرا جميعا لكم جميعا، ونترككم في رعاية الله. Thank you, Ayub, so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.